The latest on the push for a cure. Two drug makers just announced plans to resume trials for their vaccine candidates. Staff at AstraZeneca halted their trial in September after a volunteer developed a serious health issue. Johnson & Johnson's trial was put on hold just last week for the same reason. Officials with both companies say the FDA cleared them to restart the trials just yesterday. And joining us to talk more about the push for a vaccine and the human trials underway is Dr. Stephen Thomas. He's the Chief of Infectious Diseases at SUNY Upstate Medical University. Dr. Thomas, thank you so much for being with us tonight. So can you talk about the recent surge in numbers? We're seeing some of the highest daily reported case numbers since the very start of this pandemic. We know in Kentucky and Illinois, health officials reported record increases today. What has changed that making these numbers go up like this?
Yeah, so I think a few things have changed. The first is that people are clearly getting fatigued from COVID, and so I think that there's been a lax in the public health interventions that we have been recommending. So not going to school or work if you're sick, not physically distancing, not wearing a mask if you can't physically distance, and having gatherings that are outside of what your immediate social circle or social footprint should look like. I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is that the weather is changing, and so what that means is that when people are normally outside in the summer and they have the benefit of sunlight and they have the benefit of ventilation and they have the benefit of distance, now people are coming indoors, and all of those factors are a little bit different, and it increases the risk of people infecting one another. I think the third thing, which is very important and unfortunately has been consistent, is that the messaging that's coming from certain parts of the federal government are not jiving with what's coming out of state governments and state departments of health, et cetera. And so when we hear certain elected officials within the federal government talk about how, we've almost turned the corner and this thing's going to go away, that is incredibly disruptive and damaging to trying to execute what should be a nationwide public health intervention strategy.
And Dr. Thomas, obviously, nationwide, we really want a vaccine. So we're going to focus on the vaccine, trying to find that, these human trials that are part of it. Explain why human challenge experiments can be more beneficial than, let's say, animal testing.
Right, so a human challenge experiment is where you take a healthy individual and you expose them to a slightly weakened form of the virus. And the intent is to try to create a tool which could help you to rapidly develop a drug or a vaccine against that particular virus or against that particular disease. It's more beneficial in many cases than animal experiments because animals are not exactly like people. They respond to viral infections differently, they develop disease differently, and their immune systems are slightly different. And so the information that you can get from animal studies may not necessarily translate to humans. So when you do human challenge trials, the data that you get is much easier to extrapolate to the human experience, and it's much more informative.
Okay, and you say a weakened virus. So what is the process to manufacture that live virus for humans?
That's a really good question because you can't just isolate a virus from a patient and then give it to another patient. It has to go through a manufacturing process that is very similar to how vaccines go through their manufacturing process. There have to be very specific procedures that are used. They have to be manufactured in very specialized manufacturing facilities. And they have to meet requirements from the U.S. FDA. So you have to ensure that the virus that it's pure, that there's nothing else in there that could potentially harm the volunteer who's going to receive the virus. So it's not a simple process. It's highly regulated, and it requires very special facilities to do it.
Okay, so speaking of the volunteers now, who would really be administered this virus? Because we know that those over the age of 65 are at a much greater risk of complications compared to younger age groups, but you obviously can't only test the live virus on younger groups. So really, how would you work around this? It's basically a conundrum there.
You're absolutely right, and it is definitely one of the conundrums as it relates to COVID, because when we look at what is the public health burden for COVID, it's, as you mentioned, it's people that are over 60, 65, people with medical comorbidities, people that bear the greatest burden of disease and death. But when you're going to do human challenge experiments, you have to ensure the safety of the volunteer. And so typically those are done in very young and healthy people, maybe between the ages of 18 and 45 or 18 and 50 or 18 and 55. So once again, it then becomes an issue of, is the information that I get from a human challenge experiment with a younger person going to be informative about the type of vaccine or the type of drug that I have to develop to protect an older person and a person with medical comorbidities? And that's something that the scientists have to work out and weigh the risks and benefits of that.
All right, and Dr. Thomas, our last question here for you. How quickly do you think a human challenge model could be developed?
Well, I think certainly they could begin the process of trying to develop a human challenge tool certainly within months. Again, if you can get the manufacturing process done and you can get the regulators to approve that what you're going to administer will be safe and be pure, then you can start doing the experiments. But recalling the last discussion that we just had, you want to make sure that the challenge is relevant and that the challenge is informative. And that's going to require looking at multiple doses. It's going to require looking at the types of symptoms that people develop after they receive the virus. It's going to entail looking at the safety profile. And that's a very iterative process that can take, in some cases, it's taken us years to develop human challenge models.
All right, Dr. Stephen Thomas, we appreciate your expertise. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Today, the first full Saturday.